Imagine a country with no land. It has no borders, no citizens, no army, at least not anymore, and yet it sends ambassadors around the world, issues passports, and even has observer status at the United Nations. This is not fiction, it's real, and it's called the Sovereign Military Order of Malta. 1,000 years ago, it was a powerful order of knights defending the Crusader states. Today, it's a humanitarian organization headquartered in Rome, still recognized as a sovereign entity, even though it doesn't own a single square meter of territory. So how did an ancient order of warrior monks become a country without land? Let's go back to where it all began. In the late 11th century, long before Malta entered the story, pilgrims from across Europe traveled to Jerusalem, often sick, hungry, or injured after months of dangerous travel. Around 1048, a group of merchants from the Italian city of Amalfi founded a small hospital there to care for these travelers. The men who worked in this hospital were brothers of a religious community devoted to St. John the Baptist. Their founder was a man known as Blessed Gerard. When Christian crusaders captured Jerusalem in 1099, this humble hospital took on a new role. The brothers continued to care for the sick and poor, not only Christians, but also Jews and Muslims, and their reputation grew. Soon, the order was formally recognized by the Pope, but the Holy Land was a dangerous place. Pilgrims needed protection, and the brothers began taking up arms to defend them. Over time, this community of healers became known as the Knights Hospitaller, both monks and soldiers, sworn to serve God and protect travelers. Their motto summed it up perfectly: Tuitio fide et obsequium pauperum, defense of the faith and service to the poor. As the Crusader kingdoms fell one by one, the order had to move. They relocated first to Cyprus and then, in 1310, to the island of Rhodes in the eastern Mediterranean. Here, they became not just a monastic community, but a sovereign power. The knights built fortresses, harbors, and a navy that patrolled the seas against pirates and Ottoman fleets. They minted their own coins, held diplomatic relations, and even administered their own laws. In every sense except size, they were a medieval state. The order's members came from noble families across Europe, grouped into langues, linguistic and regional divisions like French, Italian, German, and English. Each contributed ships, money, and men to the order's cause. But Rhodes was always under threat. In 1523, after a brutal 6-month siege, the Ottoman Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent forced the knights to surrender. They were allowed to leave peacefully, taking their weapons and relics with them, but once again, they were homeless. 7 years later, in 1530, Emperor Charles V offered the knights a new home, the small rocky island of Malta, located between Sicily and North Africa. In return, the knights agreed to pay a symbolic rent to the Spanish crown each year, 1 falcon. Yes, a single falcon. From their new base, the knights rebuilt their power. They fortified the island, constructed massive walls, and built hospitals and churches. Malta became one of the most heavily defended islands in the world. Their defining moment came in 1565, the Great Siege of Malta. The Ottoman Empire wanted the island of Malta and launched an enormous invasion force to drive the knights out once and for all. Heavily outnumbered, the knights and the Maltese people held out for over 3 months under relentless bombardment. When the siege finally broke, the victory was celebrated across Europe. To commemorate their triumph, the Grand Master Jean de Valette founded a new capital city, Valletta, which still bears his name today. In the decades that followed, the order became a respected maritime power and a symbol of Christian resistance in the Mediterranean. Its navy fought in the famous Battle of Lepanto in 1571, helping to defeat the Ottoman fleet. But over time, the political landscape of Europe began to change. By the 18th century, the order's influence was fading. The age of religious wars had ended, and the knights' military role no longer fit the new world of diplomacy and science. Many European monarchs, especially after the Reformation, withdrew their support. Then came Napoleon Bonaparte. In 1798, on his way to conquer Egypt, Napoleon stopped at Malta and demanded safe harbor for his fleet. The Grand Master refused to admit armed forces into the island, as his vows forbade Christians from fighting Christians. Napoleon attacked anyway. After only a few days of resistance, the knights surrendered. the French occupied Malta and the order lost its last piece of territory. For the first time in 7 centuries, the sovereign military order of Malta no longer had a home. Homeless and scattered across Europe, many thought the order would dissolve, but its network of members, noble families, priests and benefactors, kept it alive. In Russia, Tsar Paul I offered the knights protection and even allowed them to establish a headquarters in St. Petersburg. He styled himself Grand Master, though the Pope never recognized his claim. Still, his support helped the order survive long enough to find a more stable refuge. In 1834, the order finally settled in Rome, where it remains today. Its headquarters, the Palazzo Malta and Villa del Priorato di Malta, were granted extraterritorial status by the Italian government. In other words, though located in the heart of Rome, these buildings are legally treated as independent territory, much like an embassy. From these few rooms, the knights continued to operate, no land, no army, but still with international recognition. They had become a sovereign entity without a country. Over time, the sovereign military order of Malta transformed from a military order into a humanitarian one. Its mission, defense of the faith and service to the poor, remained, but the means changed. Today, the order runs hospitals, clinics, and disaster relief programs in more than 120 countries. Its volunteers provide medical care to refugees, victims of war, and communities affected by natural disasters. In Italy, it even maintains a military-style medical corps that assists during emergencies and epidemics. The order now has about 13,000 members, both men and women, and tens of thousands of staff and volunteers worldwide. Members are divided into classes. Some take religious vows, while others are lay members committed to charitable work. Despite having no territory, the order maintains diplomatic relations with more than 100 nations, and it's a permanent observer at the United Nations. Its passports, stamps, and license plates are recognized in many places, and its flag, a white cross on a red field, still flies at embassies around the world. In a world of complex geopolitics, the order functions as both a religious institution and a sovereign entity, a hybrid unlike anything else. Legally, the order's status is fascinating. It isn't a state in the traditional sense. It has no citizens or borders, but it is recognized as a sovereign subject of international law. This means it can sign treaties, exchange ambassadors, and enjoy diplomatic immunity, even though it governs no land. Its sovereignty is based not on territory, but on its historical continuity, international recognition, and independence from any one nation's authority. It's an arrangement that raises deep questions. What does it mean to be a country? Is sovereignty a matter of land or of legitimacy and purpose? The Order of Malta, as a living example, suggests that sovereignty can exist even without geography, that recognition and history can be just as powerful as borders on a map. In recent decades, the order has faced internal challenges. Leadership disputes and calls for reform have tested its balance between religious devotion and diplomatic autonomy. Most recently, under Pope Francis, the Vatican intervened to modernize the order's governance, introducing a new constitution in 2022. While some saw this as a necessary renewal, others worried it blurred the line between the order's sovereignty and the authority of the Holy See. Still, the order has continued its humanitarian mission with remarkable consistency, adapting its ancient traditions to modern needs. The sovereign military order of Malta stands as a paradox, a state without a country, a military order without an army, and a relic of the Crusades that continues to shape the modern world through mercy and service. It's proof that sovereignty isn't always about borders. Sometimes it's about the will to endure, to survive history's storms, and still carry on a mission that began almost 1,000 years ago. The country that owns no land, but still has a place in the world.